This bike is 39 years old, the Yamaha FZR 1000 2LA, and bikes back then was something different. The frames felt like they're out of rubber, they were under braked, and 1000cc bikes were plenty powerful regardless. And then the question arises, how is this bike today? Because there's something different about it. It's the first of its kind. It's the first one that properly combined all aspects of a motorcycle into one. Decent handling, decent brakes, and predictable power delivery. And how does it keep up now 39 years later? I now owned this motorbike for up to a year, so long enough that the honeymoon phase is over. I did plenty of work on it myself, and now new works are coming up, as you see with the seal rings here. And I think it's important to kind of give a bit of a review and to reminisce on my time now with the Yamaha FZR 1000. I picked this bike up a bit over a year ago for 900 euros. What a bargain, especially if you look at the price to power ratio. The bike has a 989cc big water-cooled engine with 20 valves, 5 per cylinder, producing 135 horsepower and 97 newton meters of torque. That is quite plenty, and it revs up very predictable, and you also have plenty of power in the lower revs with it being a 1000. And then the gorgeous looks with the beautiful dual front headlight, the boxy rear end, just the appearance of it is so impressive. And this motorcycle is truly impressive because it was the first of its kind. If we look at motorbikes today, they all handle well, they all have predictable power delivery and are reliable, and this is kind of where it started. This is the first bike that brought that, especially for a motorbike with this engine size, because this is the bike that used the Deltabox frame for the first time. Basically a very stiff aluminum design that you find in one shape or another on so many sporty naked bikes and on sports bikes today. If you look at something like the Yamaha MT-09, it like the general shape of how the handling is designed of the bike, this is where it started, and you feel that DNA when driving it so much because it handles so well. It feels like driving a modern bike. Only thing is, if you sit on it, you have your weight very much in the rear and not on the front handlebars, so you kind of feels like steering the bike from the back, which can be a bit tricky in tight roundabouts. And the earlier mentioned Deltabox frame truly was a revolution because Yamaha put it from their race bikes for the first time onto a road bike, and it saved plenty of weight. This bike has a dry weight of 209 kilos and a wet weight of 234, depending a little bit on the tank size. This one now has a 21 liter tank because the fuel consumption, that's one of the negatives that I have over the last year. If I'm truly hitting the gas, I'm reaching 9 to 10 liters on 100 kilometers, which is crazy in today's economy. However, it's just so fun to actually twist the wrist on this thing. My favorite part of this bike that honestly also needs to be talked about is if you drive a modern bike and you hit the gas, you don't feel it as much because there's loads of electronic nannies to kind of keep you safe. This one has none of it, and then just the experience of opening up the bike and shifting up through the gears. This bike only has 5 gears, so that's a bit of a different driving experience as well, which is really lovely. With that, the top speed is a bit lower. It tops out at a little bit above 250, but you can actually go that speed and you get up to it rather quickly, and just the slight feeling of fear close to happiness. Riding something this fast, this old, is just a different sensation, especially if you did the work on it yourself, because that's one thing we honestly need to talk about. It's something you won't get around. Things on this bike are going to break. 39 years old, this is kind of where the cables start to fail. I had parts of the wiring harness being broken that I needed to replace. I had the neutral switch was broken, and then this bike can be repaired by yourself, and also if you don't have experience, but it's going to make you curse because it was quite a technical marvel at the time, so it's built complicated inside. To get to the neutral switch, one screw was like half covered by the water pump, so I needed to pull the climbing pipe off it, take the tank off, all the fairings, just to get to that switch. So it can be a bit of a hassle to work on. And of course also time is having its wear. Like right now I'm losing a little bit of power when it comes to one of the gears transferring the power of the engine over to the transmission. And I now don't exactly remember which gear it is. All I do remember is to change it, I need to build apart the whole engine and take the top end off and the timing chain and everything. While on later bikes like the FJ 1200 platform, that would be an easy fix. It's not an easy fix here, so maybe in the winter I have to completely pull the engine. This is something that you're also along the ride for with this kind of experience. And I just said that the bike is quite big and has quite a presence to it, and that is definitely true, and that combined with the 1980s styling, with this dual front headlight, the colors, I have a fitting leather jacket to it, and also the boxy rear end, just beautiful. And like, they're really expensive bikes, like I think a Honda with like a single-sided swing arm that's related to the VFR platform is going for like 30 grand, and this looks similar for a fraction of the price, and it just looks so beautiful. And at the same time, it doesn't just look like out of the 80s, it looks futuristic at the same time. Like, it's so weird driving this thing through the city, and then when it's raining and you see like the modern BMW 7 Series with the glowing front grills, and just feels like driving to a little like cyberpunk city with the neon lights and everything. It's just such a wonderful experience, and just rocking up to uni on this beauty with the loud exhaust and like just the presence of this bike. Like, I think it's one of the most beautiful motorbikes that you can own, especially for the money. It just has its own look that's like very unique in like when it comes to sports bike, and it just has its own look that's very unique, and if you pull up to a parking lot with other sports bikes, yours is the only one that's going to look like this. And now driving this bike for a year in day-to-day life, I can really say that the parts where it matters, it feels modern. For example, the 320mm dual front discs, it literally feels like throwing out the hammer, and it brakes so strongly and so efficiently. So in that way, that works really well. Besides the brakes, the bike has a 120mm front suspension, which is not an upside down fork, which is quite nice now that I have problems with the simmer rings, even though I need to service them soon. That is quite nice, and the bike still handles so sharply. It genuinely handles like a modern sports bike, and it feels so dangerous because it forgives a lot until it doesn't, and you really get up to quite crazy speeds with it, and it still manages so well in the turns. For comparison, I recently drove the Norton Manx R, which is a 50 grand superbike, and it actually feels reminiscent to that. And that, even though there's 39 years of difference between those. Of course, it has a lot less adjustability. It's preload in the front and also preload in the rear with 130mm. And I think that if you would now improve the suspension with like putting progressive forks into this thing, this is a true weapon. Like, you can still do some stuff to make it handle better, and then this is a true track weapon. And every once in a while, old people come up to me and are like, oh yeah, I had one of these when they came out and I sold them because it was too dangerous for me and it was not a good idea. And I very much understand that. This bike can be crazy dangerous, but it's such a lovely driving experience. Of course, with it being 39 years old, we need to be honest about a few bits. Corrosion becomes a topic, not on the bike itself. Like, everything looks fine, the exhaust looks fine, we barely have any rust, but things like screws. And if screws start suffering from corrosion, it's difficult to get them in and out, and then you have the problem that you have to work on the bike yourself, because you can't pay the rate that a mechanic would be charging for that, because it's a nightmare for them, and then for your wallet. So you have to work on this motorbike yourself, and it's just a lovely experience being in that much control about your bike and knowing you can fix things on it, and also the learning experience. Even though I'm scared of pulling the engine and taking care of this stuff and I'm not in the mood for it, I'm looking forward to it because it's something that will improve my mechanical skills, and at the same time, riding something like this is such a lovely experience. There's so many things that are so lovely about the bike, from the little support beams to the windshield, the boxy rear end that hides the passenger seat, to the color choice of the fairings. There's also one that is like with the red bits in purple. It is just so lovely. And one thing that I will never get over with the Yamaha FZR 1000 is the price, because you can get these bikes for under $1,000. I now got this one for a bit more expensive, so 900, because I wanted it in that color in specific, because I have the fitting jacket. There are fitting race jackets to this livery. That's another big plus for this motorbike, in my opinion. It's just so lovely, and I'm a huge sucker for dual front headlights, and it just has a different agriculture feel to it in a positive way. It feels so visceral and mechanical in a good way. It feels like starting up a fighter jet when you like open up the fuel tap, pull the choke, turn on the bike, switch off the lights, which you can still do on this bike to have the battery have enough juice to start it. It's just a one-of-a-kind experience, and just the visceral sensation of everything being mechanical and not like with like a computer in it is just so lovely. And at the same time having a bike that is to a quality standard of a modern sports bike, because this is not far behind your Yamaha R1s or like what is out there now. I mean, with the R1, it's kind of its grandpa. It's so lovely, and with it being a bit bigger than the other competing bikes at the time, it kind of was the best bike from them at the time, so it's so lovely to get. It was the bike of the decade of the 1980s. It's so lovely. Genuinely very happy, and over the year, it's a lovely experience, even though I have to admit that some things don't work that well. For example, it gets hot in traffic. Like if I need to filter through in the city, it can be a bit of a nightmare. I still use this for a lot of daily riding, going to uni, going to work, and all that kind of stuff. And also the body position allows it because it's still a bit more comfortable due to its a bit bigger size. It's a very lovely bike, and I can definitely recommend you to check out the used market for these or for other used bikes, because you kind of can't have more fun for 900 quid. I also put about 300 in parts into it when fixing it, and it's a lovely experience. So I'm definitely very happy with my 1 year with the Yamaha FZR 1000. What is your experience with old bikes? Definitely write in the comments. Would love to read that, and see you soon.